what I miss? The good old days of horror gaming. I'm not talking about modern horror games where something grotesque comes flying out of the nearest air vent with a strong desire to tuck into the chef's special that is your torso. No, I'm talking about horror games where using the word boo to frighten the player is considered lazy. I found this in Dead Space 3, where the scares became so predictable that I was rewarding myself with a Jaffa cake for every scare I predicted right, and by the end of it I was a right fat bastard. See, jump scares are effective, but this is also a double-edged sword. Though they frighten you quickly, you also recover from them quickly, and if there's nothing else to complement this experience, then you're left feeling dissatisfied. So if Five Nights at Freddy's, if a game consists of nothing but jump scares, then the player is left unfulfilled from the ordeal because the horror is only skin thick. True horror is something you just happen to walk into, but never expected to see. Without realising it, when you load up a horror game, you'll have put together a plan or a strategy to work by, and you'll go about trying to complete that game by using said strategy, whether it be searching high or low, or following clues, etc. The horror only sets in when something then spins this on its head. We're scared because something has just happened that has interrupted or ruined our plan, and we've got no backup strategy to deal with it. And of course it helps if this event happens to be shocking or grotesque. But if you never move from the starting spot, then you'll never have a horror encounter. Try it. Load up Amnesia: The Dark Descent and don't move from that spot. I guarantee you nothing will happen. See, what I'm trying to say here, poorly, is that true horror should only occur when you make the first move. It's scary because you're putting yourself into a totally unfamiliar environment where anything can happen at any given moment. But if you take something like Five Nights at Freddy's, then this is no longer the case. Here, the horror is coming to you. Load up a new game and you can guarantee that something will come out at you at some point. And if you know that it's there and that it's coming, then you can prepare yourself for it so that it isn't as bad when it does happen. Well, after all of these watered down horrors, I wanted to play something that took me back to the real age of horror gaming. This period dates between 1999 with Silent Hill and System Shock 2, and ended in 2005 with Resident Evil 4. During this period, we saw some of the best and yet underrated horror games of all time come out, and in particular, I have the Project Zero series in mind. And before all of the retards start hammering away at their keyboards, yes, this is also the Fatal Frame series, it's just in Europe it's called Project Zero. See, what this game understood is that it's not necessarily what we're seeing that is scaring us, it's what we're not seeing that's doing it. We know what we're up against, but we have no idea of when they'll strike or where they come from, and coupled with its ominous atmosphere that gives off the impression that something terrible is about to go down at any second, will naturally put us in an unfamiliar setting and an unfamiliar state of mind where you're constantly on guard against an unseen force and trying to manage your own sanity in the process. Well, thank God for DreadOut, I say, which got its release on Steam a while back, because it's like those games of old that understands what makes a good horror game, or, if we get to the nub of the matter, understand how to make horror games not shit. The evil within, I'm looking at you. Let me tell you a true story to give you an idea about this game. I was at the Tokyo Game Show in 2014, and whilst there, I saw what would eventually become Metal Gear Solid 5 before Kojima got dumped. I made sure to visit the Microsoft section, mainly to fart on an Xbox One so I could say that I've improved it. Oh, and I also saw a girl cosplaying as Vanille from Final Fantasy XIII. I mean, seriously? Out of all the female characters you could have cosplayed as, you had to go as one of the most hated characters of them all. I don't know, maybe she's popular in Japan. But anyway, I also had a wander around the indie section too. There I saw that DreadOut had a stall. I had already played Act 1, but had never played the demo, which is now Act 0, so I decided to give it a go. What I didn't realise at the time, however, was that I'd actually drawn a crowd in the process. It turns out that many people wanted to see what this game was like, but were too scared to do so because they had all watched the trailer and had seen what happens. Anyway, there's this part where you're looking for your friend, and you eventually find her in a room with her back to you facing the wall. In horror, this should set off some major alarm bells, and as expected, she turned around showing off her full ghostly regalia and attacked me. At that moment, everyone in the vicinity shat themselves, at which point I turned around and saw this crowd behind me watching what I was doing. But it occurred to me afterwards, this must be a good game if it's freaking people out who aren't even playing the game. You are Linda. You are an Asian high school girl, hey, stop jacking off! Who's returning from a school trip with the rest of her class, but ends up getting lost on the way back. As you arrive in an abandoned town, you opt to walk through this needlessly vast empty space because for some reason there's really nothing to see here, so I don't know why they even included this in the game, but whatevs, I got over it, and eventually reach a school. As the rest of the class go inside to have a look around, Linda decides to remain outside to have her ear chewed off by her irritating best friend, who recounts tales of how Linda got violent at people by hurling rocks at them. But lo and behold, how time flies when you're fucking bored, and all of a sudden it's nighttime. Well, the rest of the class must have had the time of their lives since they spent the entire day in this place, but as night descends, Linda decides it's her turn to see what's so damned interesting about this place. Well, it turns out that some of the class have now gone missing, and it's up to you and everyone else to look for them. Now you are on your own because that's some real good teaching there, Miss Siska, and now you must escape the school, which would sound easy enough when you consider booting down the door and leaving, but this is a video game, and common sense is always the first casualty in this little battle. Oh, and did I mention that this place is haunted? Yeah, because that's kind of important here. As Linda McCartney makes her way around the school, she'll encounter many spirits, all of whom are taken from Indonesian folklore. Some are friendly and will only want to draw your attention to something important, while some will try and outright kill you. But not to worry though, because Linda has brought along her Samsung Galaxy S3 with her, so that she can take pictures of her and some transvestite ghost pouting together. But did you know that Samsung have actually released an app that allows you to use your phone as a camera obscura? Yeah, I bet the girls in Project Zero 2 were kicking themselves when they learned that they could have owned a ghost exercising camera that you can also watch cat videos on and follow Kim Kardashian on Twitter. See, this is why I mentioned the Project Zero series before, because it does share many similarities with that game. It's not exactly like that series, but it does carry many a strong influence from it. Like in those games, enemy behaviour is hard to predict, and they can come from anywhere, meaning that you'll have to have your camera up and constantly spinning right rounds, baby right rounds like a record baby, in the hopes of getting a quick snap of a deadhead. The atmosphere is also worth a note. It's creepy as balls, and much like what I said about the Project Zero series, there's this feeling that something absolutely terrible is about to go down at any second. You just don't know what it is exactly, or when it's coming, but you do know that it's there. Now coupled with the standard horror tropes that we can expect these days, including tension, suspense, and a few but not too many jump scares, really brings out the flavour in this horror game. We've already got a good foundation with the atmosphere, so now with a few horror elements thrown in, all of a sudden we have a terrifying game. However, and it must be said, this is certainly not a perfect game. Yes, it's an indie game, so no, the graphics aren't going to be as good as a AAA title, but I thought they were fine, so no complaints here from me. The issues I do have with this game, however, I felt were genuine. Firstly, this game is way too short for its own good. As of when this video was released, only Acts 0, 1 and 2 are available, and there's a DLC in development as well. Whether or not more acts will become available, or if that's it, this game is over too quickly. On my first playthrough, I completed Act 1 in about 2 hours, but that was only because of this one puzzle, of which I'll get to later on. I reckon that if you knew where you were going and what to do, you could complete that act in about 40, maybe 30 minutes. And while I really did like the content that was there, I did feel a little unsatisfied with the amount that was available. So in a way you can take that as either a criticism or a compliment. Issue number 2, however, is that at times this game expects way too much from the player. There are several puzzles to solve during the course of the game, but some of them are blatant beginner's traps, whilst others are powered by troll logic. I sort of mentioned a puzzle earlier. Well, in Act 1, there's this one part where you need to get into a cupboard because presumably the keys to the exit are in there. However, the cupboard is locked, so you need to find the keys for that too. So where are the keys? Not a fucking clue. I did several laps around the game map, but to no avail. I looked up a walkthrough which told me that the keys can be found in this one room, so I went to that room, but there were no keys. Turns out, and I found this out by pure chance, that to get the keys, you need to go up onto the top floor and take a picture of a certain part of the roof from a certain angle, which will then give you a picture of a group of schoolgirls being hung, obviously, and then the keys will be available in the previous room. You know what, some fucking clues would have been nice. Then at the end of Act 1, there is the giant ghost woman who chases you down a never-ending corridor. Here you need to escape by presumably choosing the correct door, but none of the doors work. The first time I played this part, I ended up getting caught. The second time I tried to take a picture of her, but that ended up as you'd expect. The next few times, I can't remember because I was starting to get frustrated. It turns out, however, that in order to escape from this corridor, you need to find a hidden door that can only be seen with your camera and then go out that way. No, I'm sorry, I'm not taking that. So what, was I supposed to go, I need to escape from here but none of these doors work? Well, even though hidden doors haven't come up so far, I'm going to presume that there's one here. Oh look, there's one right there. Smashing. Had there been a puzzle earlier on in the game that used hidden doors as a way of introducing them to us, then this later puzzle would have been completely acceptable, but no, not this time I'm afraid. Then in Act 2, there's this one puzzle where you've got to take a picture of a certain mirror in order to progress the story. The thing is, however, is that there's a whole bunch of mirrors. There's no real penalty for taking a picture of the wrong mirror, aside from a ghost slapping you in the face, but it just means that you'll be spending more time than is necessary taking pictures of mirrors. To quote myself from a while back when I was talking about Siberia, I know how to complete this puzzle, it's just the game is being a prick about it. Finally, this game isn't too well optimised. I didn't come across any bugs or glitches, though I am aware of other people suffering from a few. However, I did experience some slight camera issues, such as the occasional lag, or the camera jittering whenever I turned a corner, and it made it that much more infuriating when I was in combat. And this is being played on my new beefy computer, so there's no real reason as to why this is happening. In conclusion, it's a good horror game if you're into that sort of thing. Great atmosphere, an interesting setting, and plenty of scares and frights to be had. However, a few bullshit puzzles and its short length does bring the score down a bit. Having said that, if you're watching this video and are curious about this game, then I'd certainly recommend going out and trying it. And on that note, I better find myself for praising a game on a rant video.
Sometimes I think this life is killing me. I swear sometimes I think